Hello, everyone. I'm Kenny Stahl, and welcome to another episode of Kenny Stahl Live here on YouTube. Another podcast for you guys to listen to. How you guys doing today? I just want to talk right now about some of the stuff I've been interested in, sharing my thoughts with you. So, I've been getting into some of this uh, religious kind of mysticism stuff, and I want to talk to you about some of the takeaways I have from it. And I like to balance it out. I don't want to go super. Uh, I don't want to get super into the craziness of religion and mysticism, all the whole, getting away from reality. I don't want to get disconnected from reality when I go down this road. But when it comes to being happy in my life, when it comes to finding some of the answers to some of the questions I have, I find it just to be very peaceful to be able to put things together in a way that I think religion really provides us with some of these answers, or they ask the right questions. So, um, so the topic of this video, the topic that I want to talk to you about right now, one of my takeaways is I've been thinking about this idea of suffering because I mean that's essentially the entire point of a lot of my videos. I suffer in my life when I am depressed. I suffer in my life when I feel like everything's going wrong. I hate myself. I'm not good enough. I suffer when I'm just not living well, you know. And I remember hearing this quote. I don't remember if it was a quote or if it's just something I heard from somebody, but it was just the idea is that everything in life is suffering. That is what life is. Life is suffering. So I don't know how true that is. Again, I'm just repeating some of the stuff I've heard, but if you if you think about life like that, that life is suffering. Obviously, there's joyous moments in life, but um, if you kind of take it for what that is, uh, then what I would have to believe and what I would have to try to justify is the idea that, well, if that's the case, life is suffering, then what I'm supposed to do and what everybody is supposed to do in life is to be able to find a way to live with that suffering, live through it. And in a certain sense, that means to be able to not be afraid of it. To not be afraid of any suffering that you might have to experience in your life, to face it, to face your fears. Basically, what I think about pain as being, another word for pain is discomfort. And I like to talk about this when I talk about the idea of stepping out of your comfort zone because I the place where I always go to when I think about the comfort zone is with my shyness, with my insecurities, my social anxiety. Uh, if I ever think about having to talk to somebody because of my fears of just having regular conversations. Like when I was younger and I would want to talk to pretty girls that I had a crush on, like my fear would be like, yeah, don't talk to those girls because you're going to look like a loser. She's going to not like you, whatever, right? That that would be me having to step outside of my comfort zone and just talk to the girl that I like, or maybe it's not a girl, maybe it's some guy, some person that I just really look up to, and I want to get to know them. I want to become their friend, socialize, because I'm not the best person when it comes to socializing. So either way, whatever situation I'm presented with, I would have to be challenging myself to be a little bit different, to step outside of my comfort zone. And the comfort, so that discomfort is not necessarily what I was trying to talk about a minute ago, which is discomfort isn't exactly suffering. Suffering, when we think about suffering, we think about wars, we think about death, we think about killing, murder, stealing, making things worse. Suffering represents the idea of pure evil in our minds. So I mean, we can't say that just little discomforts that you experience on a daily basis is the same as like torture and stuff like that. But but here's the takeaway. Here's where I bring this to how I can think about it in my own life. I think about depression. I think about self esteem. I think about your mind. I think about like how you might be in a state right now of just not knowing what you're going to do in your life, not knowing how you're going to get through the days, just stressed out, overwhelmed, afraid, unhappy. I think about that as being in a place of I mean, maybe not suffering, but definitely you're not doing good. So so I mean, there's different ways that we can deal with this. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around what I've learned. I'm trying to wrap my head around some of the things that I've read recently, in terms of the whole, you know, some of the concepts that I've heard about. So, um, anyway, hey everybody, I see your guys' comments. I hope that you guys are doing all right. I don't appreciate everybody who is joining me here live on the stream. I've just, I appreciate that you guys are subscribed to me. If you guys want, you can ask me questions right now, and that'll be cool. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think about some of the stuff I've said, some of the stuff I'm saying right now. Share what you're thinking if you want to chat. That's cool. Um, and it would be good to have some live feedback right now as I'm just rambling about some of the stuff I've been thinking about. This isn't necessarily the most interesting thing to everybody, but you know, uh, I've been getting into religious studies, and I've been getting into uh, mysticism and that sort of stuff, studying like Eastern religions, studying Christianity, studying all just different things that make sense to me. Not following these things dogmatically, but I find some of the sayings, some of the ideas in it to be just helpful to me, to be useful to me in understanding life better. Because this is the thing that I think. This is really what I think. Beyond religion, beyond the dogma, beyond the, you know, beyond the, beyond some of the big questions like does God exist or whatever. Like I don't like to think about that stuff too much. But when it comes to the practical things about like how you can start changing the way that you think about yourself and how you can start changing the way you think about the world, that stuff is what I'm the most interested in, right? Not the whole should you go to church, should you believe in God, should you do all the other stuff. That's not what I'm talking about when I say I study like the religious stuff. I'm definitely more like Buddhism is like fascinating to me at the moment, just because it's a lot of it has to do with self-awareness. A lot of it has to do with like changing the way that you just think about everything and putting yourself in a new perspective. Not everything is going to be stuff that I am wanting to study, or I don't go down every road, every path, and all these things. But anyway, what I was going to say was that I really believe that whatever works for you, whatever helps you get through what you're going through, whether that's if you want to go down the religious road, if you want to do that stuff, if it works for you, I encourage it. If you want to go straight for the if you want to go straight for just trying to go medically to take pills and use drugs and be like a lab rat for that kind of stuff, and you want to see if that helps you with your depression and your mood, whatever works. I mean, if you want to go all just pure exercise and diet kind of a path and just change your lifestyle, whatever, if you want to go on a whole on you're going to go on a mission to become like a successful entrepreneur, follow your dreams, work hard, be successful, put in the work like that, make that money, do that if you want to do that. I mean, if you're like, I want to be a pickup artist, pick up chicks, have sex, do all that stuff. If it works, it works. I'm not going to sit here and be the guy to be like, hold on, follow my Scientology thing or whatever. I'm not going to be that guy. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I want what I want. And I now that I understand this, I understand this a lot better now, because at the beginning when I started my channel, when I started uploading videos, I was like, I want to be this really motivating, inspirational guy. I want to have all the answers. I want to know the secret to success. I want to know the secret to happiness. I want to know how to overcome depression. The more I've made videos and the more I thought about it, I realized that this isn't about me. Like this isn't about me becoming popular on YouTube. This isn't about me finding out the answers. I'll never probably know. I'll never know all this stuff I want to know. So at this point today where I'm at, and this might change in the future, but what I want is that everybody watching these videos, everybody who's subscribed to my channel, uh, sorry, Jake, I'll get to your question in a minute. I want everybody on this channel to get to a better place in their life and heal from whatever you might be going through. So, um, let's see, what were you asking? What is my opinion on nihilism? I don't have much of an opinion on it at the moment. I would say, what is nihilism? Nihilism is like that, like everything's meaningless. Isn't it like everything's meaningless? Let me look it up real quick. I just want to get an accurate definition of it, just so I know for sure. Um, the rejection of all religious and moral principles. Oh, okay. Often in the belief that everything is meaningless. Extreme skepticism, maintaining that nothing in the world has a real existence. Um, well, I can say that I've been there. That I can say that I've definitely had a lot of nihilistic ways of thinking myself in terms of well, here's the thing. I 100% believe in skepticism. I am probably more skeptical than a lot of people are, and that's a good thing. I think that most depressed people are going to be skeptical because if you think about depression, if you think about what it means to be a depressed person, or even somebody who has anxiety, I mean, your immediate thought is this isn't going to go well. Like you're automatically skeptical of how the future is going to be for you. Okay, so I think that depressed people are going to be a little bit nihilistic. Um, by the way, hi Holly, how are you doing? You wanted to know if I've been to any support groups at all. You want to go? I mean, check it out. I haven't been there. I would like to at some point, but yeah. So back to nihilism. I don't believe that. I mean, to say that all religion is bullshit, or to say that it's all meaningless, to say that I find that I'm skeptical of that idea. Like, I get it. Like, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense, but I don't believe that because something doesn't make sense, or because something doesn't work, or because you don't understand it, I don't believe that that is a good enough excuse to not explore things. I mean, the pure basis of science is to put ideas, hypotheses, excuse me, under a lot of investigation, and that investigation requires exploring all angles to understand something. Um, and so yeah, there's always that possibility that a lot of things are um, there's a lot of possibilities that maybe me going down this road studying a lot of this religious mysticism stuff is not going to provide me with the most fruitful or the most helpful ways to deal with what I want to deal with in my life, but I enjoy it. It's helping me, but it is something that I would like to do privately. But if I ever get a chance to like figure something out that makes sense to me that I want to share with you, of course I will. So yeah. Uh, let's see. I got Carrie. What do you do when you can't reach out to family, friends, etc. because you end up upsetting them? Oop! I just hit my wall. I'm sitting close to the wall. Um, what do I do when I can't reach out to my family, friends? I mean, I don't know. I don't really have to deal with like upsetting them, but it's kind of a hard question to answer. Um, I try not to upset people. I mean, that's just kind of how I am, you know. I don't want people to not like me. My instinct, because of my low self esteem and my desire for attention, my desire for approval, I think that's really more important. Is I really want people to like me. You know, I want people to be satisfied by me. I want the respectable individuals that I look up to, my role models. I want them to look at me and be proud of me, you know? Like my dad growing up. He's probably the guy that I've always wanted to impress. So, um, everything I do in my life, it can be kind of, uh, it can be kind of described as me trying to do everything in my life to make my dad proud, to make my parents proud. And that's a thing that, taking a look at myself, reflecting on some of the things I've done, asking myself, why do I do all this stuff? Why am I like this? You know, that has led me to that conclusion that I'm trying to get approval from people, and people that I respect, and people that I want to be to that I want them to be proud of me. You know, like my parents. At this point, you know, you guys. I'm trying to impress you guys. I'm trying to be here. I'm trying to keep your attention. You know, I'm trying to see what you guys think about me. I'm getting your feedback, getting your comments and questions, and it is a self-esteem related idea. And um, one of the great things is that I'm constantly changing. I'm constantly evolving the way I think and what I want, and I don't. I might not always care what you guys think. I mean, have you guys ever met somebody and they're just this person? They're just like, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I'm gonna do what I want to do. Fuck what everybody thinks. I mean, those people are extremely independent in the way that they think. Uh, they don't get like sucked into other people's ways of thinking. They don't care, and that's a really cool thing. It's something that I'm not. It's something that I'm like the opposite of that. I care what everybody thinks, and a lot of people who are insecure, I mean, that is what they're like. So I think that confidence, I think as you become more confident, I've seen myself take many steps in the direction of becoming more confident, of loving myself more, of feeling better about myself, of not being so insecure, being able to overcome fear when I need to by taking leaps of faith and having a lot of courage, which I have never really had, and just doing things even when they make me uncomfortable. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about comfort, and how you know, people are very very afraid of any kind of discomfort. uh, People are very very afraid of getting hurt. People are afraid, I mean, that is what suffering is. I mean, feeling pain, that is a form of suffering. And so when people avoid any kind of pain, suffering, discomfort at all. uh, so one of the things about having courage is to say, you know what, I know this is gonna suck. I know this is gonna hurt, and I might be a little afraid of it, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. And and that's something that I'm trying to figure out how to be this way in my life and be able to describe this to you guys. What I would like, and here's my vision. This is kind of just a rough idea. What I want for my life is I want to have this continuous understanding throughout my life that, you know what, everything is not going to be okay. There's going to be a lot of really rough moments in my life. Things are going to suck. Things are going to be uncomfortable. Things are going to be painful. I'm going to suffer in my life. That is the big idea. And therefore, if I know that things are going to suck and I know things are going to be uncomfortable and suffering is going to exist, I'm just gonna do my life anyway. I'm just gonna live despite the fact that things are not gonna be perfect, despite the fact that things are not gonna be amazing or good. Or and that is the idea. That is the takeaway that I've gotten from uh, some of the things that I've been reading on suffering. Is, you know, I mean, when you look at religion and mythology and different, you know, especially I think Buddhism. I'm not sure. I don't really study it that much. Sorry, guys. I'm not very well informed on all this. Um, but the big takeaway is that what a lot of religions say is that the source of all suffering is the ego. So in things like Buddhism and even maybe you can say Christianity. Maybe I don't even know. A lot of these things, you know, the goal is to dissolve the ego, because the ego is, you know, basically you know, it's the version of yourself. It's the, you know, all the things that you want in your life, like why you want to be popular, why you want to have all this money, why you want all this stuff. Like, why do you want it? It's just to feed your ego. And now there's a whole debate about whether or not that's the way to go, um, because I don't know how to. I'm not going to make my conclusion on all this. This is just what I'm looking into. So, but no, what I realize is that a lot of times when I'm unhappy in my life, maybe not depressed. I think depression's very complicated because it could be as simple as, I mean, I don't know. it could be like, well, I'm not feeling good today. It could be I'm very unhappy. I'm not feeling fulfilled with my life. I'm not doing everything that I want to do. I'm not living a meaningful life, and that might make you depressed because you're not doing what you want. But other aspects of depression are very like they're very like medically, biologically, psychologically determined. So it's like, well, you can't just will yourself into feeling better if it has something to do with your brain being, like the chemicals aren't right in your brain, so that's going to make you feel depressed. I mean, it's not like so that's why I was trying to say earlier, like, well, taking a maybe for you studying religion and finding a way to live a more meaningful, fulfilling life is what's going to help you. But maybe what's wrong with you is you need to take medication. You need to go to these support groups. Maybe what's wrong with you is you need to take a more scientific approach to everything. Um, and changing your diet, like eating better, eating healthier foods, and exercising more. I mean, very physical, real things that can be done to change the way that you feel and to deal with your mood. So, um, yeah, I mean, but I mean, I think for me, what I've been drawn toward to the most is this idea of how to live a more fulfilling life, how to be happy in my life. And I think one of these things is, as I look inward and reflect on myself and why things are important to me, and when I think about like some of the problems that I face, I realize that if I do think about this concept of the ego, it is very, very real that I understand that that is where a lot of my suffering is coming from, is that I'm actually doing this to myself. I don't like when I'm just sitting there unhappy or miserable. I think one of the things that I've realized is that I don't have to be miserable. It's not something that I'm not the victim of this. Um, I'm not the victim of this like disease, which is depression. I think I definitely have gone through depression in my life, which is very real, where I need to go to therapy. I needed to start making very real changes to myself. But I think there was a point that I crossed where I was starting to feel better. And at that point, I realized that I was just unhappy. It wasn't that I was necessarily depressed in a real medically uh, diagnosable depression. I was just unhappy. I was just not proud of myself. I was just, I had all these like beliefs about what I was supposed to be like, uh, the ideas of, what would satisfy my self esteem, satisfy the desires that I have, like getting a job, graduating school, getting a girlfriend, having more friends, doing more things that I enjoyed, hobbies. I mean, all these things. It's like at a certain point, it doesn't matter if I take a pill. If it doesn't matter if I go on antidepressants. What I need to do in my life is start changing my behavior, start participating in a more meaningful set of uh, a more meaningful set of decisions in my life. Sorry, guys. Just doing things right, and this is this is something that I've had to deal with because I've been battling this like, do I have depression or am I just unhappy or what is this all about? Um, so I would say first of all, if you're actually depressed, take care of that. Take care of the real medical depression that you might be going through. Um, Going to see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, going to support groups, practicing cognitive therapy, which I find to be my favorite thing in the world. Um, uh, Whatever you have to do, going on medication, whatever works, changing your lifestyle where you're healthier, like exercising, and because that stimulates the brain, exercising and eating better foods provides better, nutrients to the brain. And um, so do all that stuff first, but there's also a point where it is up to you to do what you want to do with your life and not be afraid to take action and not constantly live in fear that you're not going to be good enough or that it is that nihilistic thing which I kind of talked about. earlier. Okay, what do we got? Questions, questions, questions. I appreciate all of you guys' comments. I love you guys. I do appreciate you guys participating in the chat here. So leave your comments on the video if you're watching this later, and leave your question in the chat right now or comments. I appreciate it all. So Jake says, "Do you think morals are more important than ethics?" Um, I think that morals and ethics are important. Um, I haven't actually spent very much time thinking about morals or ethics. Um, so I just rather not answer that question right now. What if your family doesn't do anything or go anywhere and you can't do it on your own because you're underage? Do you have any opinions or ideas about that? I want to do stuff to make myself happier. Well, I mean, there are limits, you know. I mean, if you're young and you got to do whatever your parents want to do, I mean, uh, yeah, I mean, you can just find anything that'll make you happy, you know. Um, you got a lot of time ahead of you. I got a lot of time ahead of me. I'm 22 now. Um, yeah. So, can I ask, how do you know that you have depression as opposed to just being a pessimist? Oh man, that's a good question. I think that there are certain. I mean, I guess there are probably certain signs that you're actually depressed. Uh, well, I think that's kind of what cognitive therapy is trying to do. Is it's trying to ask you it asks you questions like, why do you what do you think about yourself? And you might go into it saying, well, I believe that I can never do anything right in my life. I'm just gonna fail over and over again and screw up. And well, when you're in cognitive therapy, the therapist will ask you, well, how could you reframe what you just said? Is it true that you always fail? And you might be like, well, yeah, I think so. But then it's like, well, really? Well, it's like, well, hold on, let me think about that. No, I mean, I guess I was successful, a couple years ago. I did well in school, or I had this job that I got. Well, then it's like, well, see, look at that. You don't fail at everything. So you're telling yourself that you fail at everything, but it's not true. So I think cognitive therapy, which is used to help people with depression, helps you um, deal with these beliefs that you have and overcome some of the negative thinking patterns that you have, which can be associated with being a pessimist. Um, there's this idea that people um, people believe that some people have this idea that they have to be perfect in their life, otherwise they're not happy. It's this all or nothing thinking. If I'm not the best at everything, I'm just gonna give up on my life, and that's a very dangerous thing to do because it's like somebody who gets mad if they don't get first place. Let's just say they get second place and they're just furious. It's like, well, you got second place. That's still really good. But some people are like all or nothing. Either you win, if you don't get first, you'll lose. So, yeah. Okay, let's see what else do we got. Um, all right. Yeah, so that's just some of my thoughts on all this. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to see what other things I can talk about. So I think a lot of times people get to this point in their life where one of two things has to change. Either your attitude has to change, like we just brought up the idea of being a pessimist, right? We brought up the idea of being a nihilist. There are certain things that you might encounter in your life. These are problems that you're facing, like dealing with a breakup, dealing with parents getting divorced, dealing with dropping out of school, dealing with getting diagnosed with a sickness. All the things. You look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm stupid. It's like you look at yourself. All the stuff that you struggle with. So all of the bad stuff that happens in your life that might cause you to be unhappy, the negative circumstances, right? The things in life that are difficult to deal with. I think there's always one or two things has to happen. One or two things has to change, I should say. Either you can actually change the circumstances, or you have to change the way you feel about them or the way you think about them. So, for example, if somebody died in your family, maybe your parent died, maybe your brother or sister died, maybe your grandpa or grandma died, that is obviously something that can't be changed, right? You can't bring them back from the dead. So in that kind of situation, when you're dealing with that kind of a loss in your life, you then have to um, you then have to change the way that you see it, the way that you feel about it, and you have to overcome the sadness and depression, the grieving that you might go through. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel sad or unhappy in those moments. Like, I'm not sitting here telling you you can never feel depressed in your life. I'm not sitting here saying you can never be sad. I'm not saying when bad things happen you're just supposed to smile and be happy about it. No. But if you get stuck thinking that way, and one event that happens in your life changes the way you are for the rest of your life in a negative way, in my opinion, that's not the outcome that's going to be the best for you. Or for me, that wouldn't be the best for me. So, okay, what if you look in the mirror and you realize that you're overweight or you're unhealthy or something needs to change about you? Um, this is something that you can change, right? So, what can you change if you're overweight, if you're fat? What can you do? You can eat less, eat healthier, exercise more, do whatever you can. So, that is something which, yeah, you can learn to love yourself. There's this whole movement called body positivity, which is an amazing thing. But um, and that's just focused on, hey, if you're, you should love yourself no matter what. There's some things about me, I'm obviously not overweight, but there's some things about me which I'm very self-conscious about. um and they're not physically related, they're like personality related. Like, I'm not the funniest guy, and that makes me really self-conscious when I go out and whenever I'm around people. But guess what? Funny is something that you can learn to be. You can become more funny, right? You can learn that. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that with some of these things, you can learn to be okay with the way that you are. Like, I can learn to be happy with who I am, even though I'm not funny, right? I can change my attitude about that, right? But it is changeable. I can change that. If you're overweight, you can change that. If you're weak, if you want to build muscles and look like a tough person, have like a ripped shirt and like big biceps, you can change that, right? If you're unhappy, if you hate yourself because you have little biceps, you can change that, you know? And that's the great thing, we have to somehow in our life, we have to recognize um, that there is something about us which we can change. And too many of us are really pessimistic or nihilistic, where they say, well, why would I want to change anything? Why would I want to, why, if I am overweight, why would I want to lose weight? If I'm not funny, why would I want to be funny? Why would I want to get stronger? Why would I want to live a healthier life? Why would I want to have enough money to pay all of my bills? It's like, well, if you're nihilistic, you might just say, I'm just not going to care about myself. I'm just not going to care about any of that stuff. But um, I think that if those things are the causes of your suffering, if they're the causes of your unhappiness, then you have to change something. And many of us are just hoping, crossing our fingers, and wishing that everything will get better and that we'll feel better. When I do kind of take this approach to this, which is that um, the sooner that you realize that there's something that you can do about it, because I understand all these different things as problems. That's how I present, or that's how I think about these different various things, even including depression. It's a big problem. Depression is a big problem, but it's still a problem. So if you can adopt that problem solving mentality, where you can identify these problems as quickly as you can and ask yourself, how can I solve this problem, or how can I make things better? The idea of always wanting to improve, to get better, that is what I'm advocating. That is what I would hope that you would try to do, because then one day you might wake up and you might start feeling better, and then you can say, I'm so happy I made that decision to get help. I'm so happy I made that decision to change my life. That I mean, obviously there's some things in life that are just awful and horrible and uh, disturbing, and things that make it very hard for us to move forward in our life. Especially if it's like, I mean, I can't even imagine some of the things that people go through in their life, like the fear of going to prison, the fear of being in a country that is involved in war and conflict. I mean, living in a country, living as like a person who's experiencing bullying or racial or uh, 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 any kind of discrimination or something like that in a major level, like harassment, like I can't imagine some of the things that people deal with, and you know, so I mean, I don't know how. I've never been through some of the awful things in life, so I can't really. So it's hard for me to talk about this, you know. But I mean, I want people to feel better no matter where you're at in your life, you know. So I've just gone through mild depression, you know, not even like severe depression, not even. I mean, maybe I've gone up to like the next level of depression where it's like somewhere between mild and severe, like moderate. But you know, I mean, I what I tend to do a lot in my life is I isolate myself from all the stuff. Like I don't step outside very much to interact with all the things because I get overwhelmed and stressful or stressed out, I should say. Um, and I'm kind of preventing myself from having to face some of the challenges in life, which some people would say that's a weakness, and I would agree, you know. But um, you know, that's why I haven't gone through some of the really difficult things in life. So. All right, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate all of you guys that are watching here on my channel and this video right now. I love to talk about this stuff. Um, it helps me get through some of the things that I'm trying to work through and understand some of these things together. Um, all right, so see, 36 minutes so far. I think I've said pretty much everything I wanted to say, so I might just end the video here. Um, yeah, so, all right. Thank you everybody for watching my videos. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. I hope that, you know, I hope that we can do, I hope that what what you think about when you watch my videos will live with you as long as it's useful to you, and that you can change your life and you can help other people. I mean, the ultimate goal with this is to get everybody to a place where they're just not suffering as much. And I would like to help as much as I can, but there's only so much that I can do because I don't know what the heck I'm saying half the time. I don't know what the heck I'm even doing in my life, but I want to document a lot of my thoughts. I want to share with you guys what I'm thinking and how I've arrived at some of these ideas and conclusions, and um, if they mean anything to you guys, like you guys just showing your support is all that I want from you. I love your feedback, your comments, your questions. Uh, I mean, sometimes I don't know where to go. Sometimes I don't know exactly which things I should talk about and how I should word them and everything. So when you guys ask these specific questions that you guys ask me, that helps me get a clearer direction of what you guys want to know and how I can be the most useful for you guys. So keep giving me that feedback. Keep telling me what you think. Keep telling me everything like that. So I am going to end it right now. I appreciate you guys being here, watching the Kenny Stahl uh, live stream on YouTube. So that's it for this one, guys. I'll see you in my next one. I'll see you later.